You have been finishing sentences you no longer believe, not lying exactly, something more disorienting than that. You have been saying the true things, the correct things, the things that used to land with weight when you said them, and feeling them arrive hollow on the other side of your own mouth. Something in the transmission has changed. The words are the same, the frequency is not. You have noticed yourself pausing mid-thought, not because you have lost the sentence, but because you are suddenly unsure whether the sentence is still yours to finish. The conversations have started to feel like transcripts of a life you are no longer fully living inside. You are present, responsive, articulate, and somewhere underneath all of that, quietly monitoring yourself from a distance, wondering when you agreed to keep playing this particular character. It is not burnout. Burnout feels like depletion. This feels like a signal coming in on a frequency your current equipment was not built to receive. Something is trying to transmit. You do not yet have the language for it. That is precisely what this is about. What you are about to understand is why this feeling is not a symptom of something wrong, but a signal of something arriving. You will learn what Uranus entering Gemini actually means in the mechanics of sky and time, not as metaphor, but as a measurable historical cycle that has preceded the most significant collective pivots in modern memory. You will understand why your nervous system, your voice, and your unfinished decisions are the precise targets of this transit. And you will leave this with a specific practice, timed to the exact moment of ingress, that converts the pressure you have been carrying into a direction you can actually move in. Stay with this. On April 25th, 2026, at 8:51 p.m. Eastern Time, Uranus crosses the cusp of Gemini for the first time since June 6, 1942. That is not a poetic approximation. That is an 84-year cycle closing and a new one opening. 84 years being the full orbital period of Uranus around the Sun, meaning this is the first complete revolution of this planet in recorded modern history. The last time Uranus was in Gemini, the world was mid-war, mid-invention, mid-rupture. The radio was still new. The computer did not yet exist as a public concept. Human flight was less than 4 decades old. The world was being rewritten at a speed no previous generation had experienced, and it was Uranus in Gemini that provided the electrical charge for that rewriting. Uranus is not a subtle planet. It governs rupture, revelation, and the sudden liberation of what has been compressed for too long. Its action is not gradual. It operates the way lightning operates, not building toward brightness, but arriving as brightness, fully formed and total. In Taurus, where Uranus has been since 2018, that energy moved through the material plane. Financial systems, land, the body, security structures, food, and the physical architecture of economies. You felt it as instability in what you thought was solid. The pandemic, the supply chain fractures, the housing crisis, the collapse of certain professional certainties. These were not random events. They were Uranus doing what Uranus does in the domain Taurus rules. Gemini is categorically different terrain. Gemini rules the mind, language, communication infrastructure, local networks, information exchange, duality, and the nervous system itself. When Uranus enters this sign, the disruption moves from what you own to what you say, think, transmit, and believe. The revolution stops being about the ground beneath your feet and starts being about the signal you are broadcasting, and whether it is still true. Historically, Uranus and Gemini periods have coincided with the invention or radical disruption of dominant communication technologies. The printing press era, the telegraph era, the radio era, the computing revolution, each of these inflection points carries a Uranus-Gemini or Uranus-Gemini adjacent signature. What emerges in this current 7-year transit, running from 2026 through 2033, will likely redefine how humans process, share, and generate meaning at a structural level. Artificial intelligence as a public force, decentralized information networks, the crisis of epistemic trust, these are not background noise. They are the opening movements, the The reason your body has been registering this before your mind named it is because the nervous system is Gemini's anatomical domain. The vagus nerve, the cervical spine, the shoulders, the hands, the lungs, these are the physical structures ruled by Gemini. And they have been under pressure. You may have noticed tightness across the shoulders that appears without physical cause, as if you are bracing for something you cannot see. You may have experienced an unusual sensitivity in your hands, a restlessness, a need to write or type or gesture, as if information is trying to exit the body and cannot find the door. Shallow breathing at odd moments, a catching sensation in the chest that is not cardiac, it is respiratory. It is the lungs contracting around unexpressed thought. The disruption in sleep between 2 and 4 a.m. corresponds to the liver meridian in traditional Chinese medicine, but also to the body's natural cortisol trough, which makes unresolved cognitive tension surface without the daytime suppression of activity. Your body has been accurately reading the frequency of a major transit. It does not wait for your calendar. The 4 signs most directly activated by Uranus entering Gemini are Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces, the mutable cross, and each is being asked a different version of the same fundamental question. If your sun, moon, or rising is in Gemini, the mechanism is direct. Uranus is entering your first house or your core identity field, and the disruption is personal. The psychological experience has been one of watching the version of yourself you have been presenting feel increasingly like a costume. You have built an identity around your intelligence, your adaptability, your ability to hold multiple perspectives simultaneously. And now that very multiplicity has become the problem, you cannot figure out which version of you is the real one to lead with. The unresolved question is not what should I do? It is who is doing it. The crossroads is this. The self you curated to survive the last 8 years is not the self equipped to live the next 8. You are being asked to let the old narrator go and speak in a voice you have not yet fully tested. If Sagittarius is your dominant sign, you are feeling this as a direct opposition, Uranus across the sky from your home position, pulling at everything you have built your belief system around. Sagittarians have spent years constructing a philosophy, a worldview, a story about how life works and what it means. That story has been quietly cracking. The psychological experience is one of defending a conviction you are no longer certain you hold, and the exhaustion of that performance is immense. The specific unresolved question is whether the truth you have been evangelizing is still your truth, or whether it became doctrine somewhere along the way. The crossroads is direct. You can keep teaching what you were taught, or you can begin the more uncomfortable work of being a student again. The bridge to the next reading is that Virgo and Pisces are being asked not about identity or belief, but about something older, service and surrender. If Virgo is dominant in your chart, Uranus in Gemini activates your 10th house of public role and career, and the disruption is arriving through your sense of function. Virgos have built their worth around precision, usefulness, getting it right, being the person who notices what others miss. The experience of the last year has been a subtle, grinding sense that the systems you perfected are becoming obsolete faster than you can refine them, that competence itself is not the currency it used to be. The unresolved decision is whether to keep optimizing a role that may be dissolving, or to step into a function you cannot yet define. The crossroads is this. The most useful thing you can do in this era is not to perfect the old method, but to become fluent in the new one, even before you have mastered it. And for Pisces, Uranus in Gemini activates the 4th house, the roots, the home, the private interior. Pisces has been holding space for everyone else's transformation, while quietly wondering when it becomes permissible to transform their own foundation. The psychological experience is one of deep, wordless grief for a version of home, emotional or literal, that cannot be reconstructed. The unresolved question is not logistical. It is whether you are allowed to need what you need, to say what is true about your own interior without framing it as service to someone else. The crossroads is singular. The dissolution you fear is not destruction. It is renovation, but you have to stop calling it loss in order to walk through it. What not to do in this window is as important as what to do, and the warnings here are mechanical, not moral. Do not make permanent declarations in the 7 days surrounding April 25th. Uranus ingresses create a high-frequency static in discernment. The mind mistakes urgency for clarity, and decisions made at peak electrical charge often need to be reversed at a lower cost than they were made. The specific damage is that you lock yourself into a position before you have the full information that this transit is about to deliver. The alternative is to write the declaration privately, sit with it for 10 days, and speak it then. Do not abandon a communication channel, platform, or relationship based on a single charged conversation during this period. Gemini governs information exchange, and Uranus in Gemini creates the conditions for misreading. What sounds like rejection may be disruption. What sounds like an ending may be a rupture that precedes a deeper honesty. Wait for a second data point before acting as if the first is final. Do not consume information compulsively in the days surrounding ingress. The nervous system is already running at elevated frequency, and input without integration creates fragmentation rather than insight. Limit news and social media intake not for spiritual reasons, but for neurological ones. The mind needs space to process what it is already receiving from the transit itself, and competing stimulation blocks that processing. Do not force a creative or communicative output to be finished during this window if it is resisting completion. Uranus in Gemini at ingress is generative, not editorial. What wants to emerge is raw signal. Editing it prematurely reduces it. Let it be incomplete and true rather than complete and diluted. The practice calibrated to this ingress works as follows. On April 25th, 2026, begin at 8 p.m. Eastern, 51 minutes before the exact ingress. You need a single sheet of blank paper, a pen you write with by hand, and a glass of cold water nearby. The handwriting is functional. Gemini is ruled by the hands, and analog writing bypasses the editorial filter of the typing mind. Sit in the quietest space available to you. At 8 p.m., write at the top of the page the single question you have been circling for the past several months, the one you keep approaching and then rerouting around. Write it plainly, without softening. Not what might I consider regarding my work, but the actual question, unbeautified. From 8,00 to 8,45, write without stopping. Not an answer, write every thought that has accumulated around the question. Contradictions are correct. Incomplete sentences are correct. The function of this period is neural decompression. You are moving compressed cognitive material from internal loop to external surface, which is the precise Gemini gesture of translation. At 8:51 p.m., stop writing. Do not read what you wrote. Place your hands flat on the paper for 30 seconds. This is not ceremonial. The warmth and pressure of the hands on the surface of the written thought completes a sensory loop that the body uses to register this has been received. Set the paper aside face down. Drink the full glass of cold water slowly. The physiological function is to activate the vagal brake. Cold water stimulates the vagus nerve, which reduces sympathetic activation and moves the nervous system toward integration. Then stand, shake your hands once from the wrists, and take 3 full breaths where the exhale is twice the length of the inhale. Return to the paper the following morning and read it once. What you will find is that the question has already begun to answer itself in the writing. This practice transforms pressure into direction, not by solving the question, but by making the question real enough to move through. What you have been carrying is not confusion. Confusion implies that clarity is the default, and you have temporarily misplaced it. What you have actually been holding is something more specific. The weight of a self in transition, a life in the process of revision, at a scale you did not choose but cannot avoid. The pressure you feel in your chest when you think about what comes next is not fear of failure. It is the pressure of something genuine, trying to take its final form. There is a process in material science called annealing. Metal under extreme heat becomes momentarily disordered at the molecular level, more chaotic, more vulnerable, more malleable, and it is precisely in that state that it can be restructured into something harder and more refined than it was before. The disorder is not the damage. The disorder is the mechanism. What you are inside right now is not breakdown. It is the thermal condition required for what comes next. Uranus entering Gemini is not asking you to reinvent yourself. It is asking you to stop pretending the current version is complete. The transit lasts 7 years. The opening is now. And the very discomfort that has been keeping you awake, that pre-dawn alertness, that hollow feeling mid-sentence, that sense of a door with weight, is not a sign that you are behind. It is proof that you are already in motion. The ones who feel this most are the ones it is most for. You are not late. You are ready. Begin. If someone in your life has been carrying the same unnameable weight this week, restless, awake, mid-sentence, and uncertain, share this with them. Not as content, but as recognition. Sometimes the most important thing is simply being told that what you feel is real, and that it has a name, and that it is leading somewhere. And if you want to understand what follows this ingress, the signs that arrive in the weeks ahead, the deeper, personal readings for each placement, subscribe. This is not a channel. It is a continuing conversation about the larger unfolding you are already inside.